Welcome then to the Tour de France time trial stage. 48 kilometres to be covered today, and these riders on a relatively, well, I'd say flat. There's some little twists and turns and some short, sharp little hills in this one, but we'll give you some idea of the speed. Up in the top left-hand corner of your screen, there, 1:00.07. That's the fastest time we've had so far, and that's been put up by Jean-Francois Bernard, who put a cracking time up. And we do know out on the course, though, that Ekimov is going even faster than Jean-Francois Bernard. So quite a little battle coming up, and you can sit and watch it. So Bernard the fastest today. And is it all of these time trials? We go in the reverse order of general classification. So the riders we're looking at now are much further down the field than the star men. The last man to go, of course, will be in the yellow jersey. And that man in the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain, a specialist time trialist. He has, in fact, won 24 time trials against the watch in various major races in his professional career. So he's certainly going to be the man to beat today. We're just looking there for a moment at Alberto Eli. Alberto Eli on the general classification at the moment is a bit off the pace. In fact, he's 17th overall, and 30 minutes and 10 seconds down. There you are. That's your time there at the finish. Luvio, Debian, Bortolami, Lance, none of those people would really expect to be in with a shout in this time trial. In fact, Jean-Francois Bernard quite happy with that performance, I suppose, at the moment, to allow himself to be up there on the rostrum, on the chart, showing that he's the fastest today. So the clicking there, you see the right-hand corner of your screen. This fellow Hamburger, Big Mac as they call him, riding for the TVM team. That's the time check there, 34:14 for him, and that one is at the 26-kilometre point, and the fastest time we've got there so far is that of Ekimov, who went through that point at 32 minutes and 8 seconds. So the kilometre there, where you saw that rider just go through, the fastest time, 32 minutes and 8 seconds by Ekimov. At that point, he was 10 seconds faster than was Jean-Francois Bernard. Here, a quick look then at Raul Alcala. Looking like a good time. They flashed the time up and then disappeared again before we could really take a good note of that one, because it could be, therefore, that there's going to be a bit of a change at the moment, the way that Alcala was moving menacingly close to Ekimov's time. Well, Charlie Motte, next rider to finish. After him will be Pascal Lino. Motte lying at the moment on 43rd place, 1 hour 12 down on the general classification, and he's going to not get inside the moment, inside the top half dozen. I thought, just about there. That's the figure 4, then 5. That shows that Pascal Lance was a bit faster than him. In a moment, he's going to fall outside Lance's time, and there we are now. You see Van Zeller, the next one he's got to beat for Charlie Motte, and it's the 2:49. Can he do it? I thought he's going to do this one, Charlie, but that will just have him into 6th place then, 1:01.51. Conti underway. We didn't see the start of Rincon. He's gone. They're starting, by the way, at 3-minute intervals, these riders. So now Charlie Motte is finished. We've got Conte just underway now. Next to riders to start will be Farazin of the Mobile team. Then Doria, who is 12th overall in general classification, the best praised French rider. So he'll be the next to go in about, what's that, 3:60, about 6 more minutes now. So he'll be warming up out there. These riders get on the rollers just to get themselves all warmed up, and they go for a little trundle around. Of course, the big thing is not to arrive too late at the start. We've seen that happen before. Anderson in the prologue time trial got there late, just lost about 30-odd seconds in his rush for the line. He was late coming back from his hotel. He had really to chase with his teammates to get to the prologue time trial in time, and he lost 30-odd seconds when he was in late start position, but also he was tired out, having raced along the road with his teammates to get there in time. This particular route they're taking from Bretigny to Montlhery, it is a reverse U. In fact, it's a bit like a C, a flattened C shape, and here we can see how far down Lino is. Hello, this isn't Lino at all. I'll have to wait to see what that one's for, because I looked up and saw his name, and we're not. We're looking at Ellie, in fact, here from the Area Steer team. But the course setting out from Bretigny goes straight out in a due westerly direction. Then it turns almost due north, and then it comes back due east. So they got a tailwind to bring them in towards the finish. And Lena, that was the one we wanted to come up. They obviously pressed the wrong button, because that was the little classification that we saw pop up as where he was overall in the race. And Lena then 1 hour 11 minutes and 17 seconds down on the general classification. Of course, stage victor in the Tour de France this year, salvaging some honour for France, because he was the first French victory in the Tour this time. In fact, the only French victory we had so far. That was stage 14. And Lino last year held the yellow jersey for 10 days in the Tour de France, so he's had a rather disappointing tour this time. But he's a young lad, he can still come back, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of him before long, because I think his season might well be started. He certainly showed when he's out-sprinted Perini and Brunel that he got some fire in his legs still. Out on the road now with Stephen Roche. Very, very good time trialist indeed. Just showed the flag of Ireland up there. And Roche at the moment 16th overall on general classification, 26 minutes and 37 seconds down this morning. Roche is a great time trialist. He once stayed in the past in the Tour de France in time trial, but that one he really was on superb form. And he is talking about this being his last Tour de France, so we're going to miss him if he sticks by it. Cavriola here, another man who wouldn't look upon himself as being a superb time trialist. We does see that the fastest time on the right-hand side of the screen was about 3 minutes outside that one. There's a time check out on the course that we've been putting up on the pictures for you there, and I've got information still that Yakimov is still the fastest at 10.8 kilometres and the fastest at 26 kilometres. So Roche here, Stephen, perhaps would like the distance. It's what, 48 kilometres? That is exactly 30 miles, by the way. So the fastest time we had so far from Jean-Francois Bernard of just 0.07 seconds outside the 1 hour. So somebody at the back lot's going to crack the hour for this 30-mile ride. And I know a lot of racing cyclists in Great Britain spend a lot of time trying to break the hour for 25 miles. Well, these riders here are riding 30 miles, and it's by far and away a much tougher course than one would have for a normal time trial, the sort of flat ones which time trialists do back in Great Britain. Here, Gianni Bugno, well, in the Lac de Madine 59-kilometre time trial there, he's going to do quite a respectable time at this particular checkpoint here, because Jean-Francois Bernard was the second fastest. Bugno coming through here now at this checkpoint here, and let's see what he's going to do. And we're going to take a short break though. I'll let you know in just a couple of minutes. Well, out on the road again with Stephen Roche. The time of Gianni Bugno, 32 minutes and 27 seconds. Just about, 19 seconds slower than Ekimov at that point. Ran in just outside, just about third at that particular checkpoint. So that midway time, roughly midway, only 26 kilometres. They're covering 48, so we've just got another 22 to go after we get that time check coming in, giving us some sort of indication as to what the final places might be. They do, in fact, drop up and down the classification a little bit, but not a lot. The one man we're going to have to watch out for later on, Yaskula. When we had the time trial early on in the Tour, when at Lac Marine, when Ekimov, when Indurain was really going hammer and tongs and knocked 2 minutes 11 seconds out of Gianni Bugno. Then a rather interesting way in which Yaskula came up the sort of classification. He started 10th and he finished off in 18, moved up, dropped down to 15, went back up to 8, so he's hovering and going up and down. He was very erratic performance. We'll have to see what he's going to do today, because he's certainly going to try and pick up some time, I think, on Brunel ahead of him. So there we are. This was the time at the check coming in towards the finish. He was equal there, Yakimov and Bernard, at that particular point, 54.1, and then they equal it, or they were equal at that particular point at that time check, and then in towards the finish. Sprint virtually from Ekimov to come in just 10 seconds ahead. So in those final few kilometres, Ekimov pulled out those extra 10 seconds on Jean-Francois Bernard. That checkpoint is 42.5 kilometres, so we've got one at 26 and one at 42.5 kilometres. and they were 54 minutes dead at that point. Well, we wait with bated breath for some of Roche's times to come in. Looking back to the time trial at the Lac de Madine, Stephen, in that particular time trial, he finished in 10th place, 4.5 minutes down on Indurain. If you take out the fact that Indurain was 2 minutes ahead of Bunyo, 2:11 to be precise, then the rest were fairly well closely packed together, just that Indurain was head and shoulders faster and better than anybody else. But Roche finished in 10th place then, and if he's got some strength in his legs, I'm sure he'd like to move up the chart a bit. But a hell of a battle going on for honour in the first few places. Second, third, fourth and fifth are really open for grabs today, and we've probably seen this time trial just a few changes at the top end of the general classification. Not much further down, because many of the riders further down the classification are a long way apart. What you're seeing clicking there is Kengialta's time against those who've just finished in front of him. So at the moment he's just going to move into 13th place ahead of Marc Sergent. So Kengialta's come in. Well, we didn't see this fellow start, and a great pity, because we've seen a lot of him in the mountain stages of the Tour so far. So Olivier Rincon, the stage victor in the Tour, when he went away and rode in something like about 15 kilometres on his own up the mountain, then certainly this fellow here had a lot of supporters absolutely in Colombia jumping up and down when he got that stage victory on stage 15, which was a stage up into Andorra. And of course he was heading up into the Pyrenees, which those mountain climbers love, the sort of terrain there. Well, Ekimov, is he going to get Bernard's time? It looks like he might just about make this one then. It's going to go in. It's coming up so close. It's 1 minute. He's just going to go outside it. So the faster times we had earlier on from Ekimov now, it looks like he's dropping off the pace a bit. Well, second, 1:00:11. So in fact, although he was faster at the 10-kilometre check, faster at the 26-kilometre check, and equal at the 42.5-kilometre check, Ekimov then just outside. It was 0.07 was the time for Jean-Francois Bernard. And here there's a lot of British people out today around this course, because a lot of them have come down into Paris and dropped down to see the time trial stage today, and then tomorrow to watch the road stage go into Paris. They come over coachloads of them, but of course they're going to be outnumbered by the people from the Basque country, and the Spaniards are going to come to cheer Miguel Indurain, because Miguel Indurain at the moment, there's nothing going to stop him steamrolling into Paris tomorrow with that yellow jersey, barring of course the accident. Robert Miller never looked upon time trialling as perhaps his greatest strength, but nevertheless he's bouncing around the course. And have a look then as Xavi comes through here at this time check. He's not in the top group at all. They keep going backwards and forwards, don't we? Produces nightmares sometimes, that to pick up the riders that are actually doing a decent ride that one wants to pick up. We've seen Ekimov come in, and now from that's Cabino. He's been overtaken then by Ekimov, but he's a great mountain climber, stage victor in the Tour of Spain. That's where he likes it, up in the mountains. And we're going back up into the comedy box off the start house. So Pulnikov to go now. So we've not seen Martin and Doria and Palas in start, and they're out on the road at the moment. But Pulnikov, also a useful time trialist. So going back to some time checks coming in, that at the 10.8 kilometre point, Gianni Bugno had lost 8 seconds on Ekimov at the 10.8 kilometre. Ekimov had been the fastest at that particular time check, so still Bugno a little bit outside it, but he is in fact just 2 seconds faster than Jean-Francois Bernard at the 10.8 kilometre mark. So Bugno really out there, I think, looking for something today to take back. He was second at the Lac de Marine, not being his best Tour de France. He was up on the victory rostrum last year in Paris. Moment rank 25th overall, 37.50. So I think that Bugnot, as we're looking here at the Maya rider, Olivier Rincon, and as I say that, we switch back to Eric Caratou, who has been overtaken by Ekimov out on the road, so his time not going to be very quick. You can see that because Ekimov's time just outside the hour. This fellow now is over 5 minutes back on Ekimov. So just 4 seconds separating Ekimov from Bernard. So Bernard still has that best time so far. That's up on the top left-hand side of your screen. Again, Eric Caratou, no great worry. Well, Franco Bona, this particular time check, again, just riding himself round. If you've been watching our coverage of the Tour de France, you'll remember seeing this fellow in the mountains, particularly the Pyrenees. He was very keen to attack. He did quite a lot of attacking off the front in the Pyrenees, and that is again a place where some of these riders came into their own. The Festina team, for instance, we didn't really see anything of them until we got into the Pyrenees. And Franco Bona here, just going to ride round today. And now up into the Startgard house for this man, Pedro Delgado, past winner of the Tour de France. Has done an absolutely sterling job to defend Miguel Indurain's position as the yellow jersey, because you can't get through every day without the help of your teammates chasing down. We see them day after day on the front, making sure that any breakaways that are important don't get too far away. Delgado then next to go for Benesto. Johan Brunel will be the next man to go up into the start house, and he'll let fly 3 minutes after Delgado. Johan Brunel of Once. So Conti out on the road at the moment. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back with more information in just a couple of minutes. Johan Brunel about to leave, and there he goes on his way. An extremely good time trialist, this fellow, and he finished, let's see, in 6th place at the Lac de Marine. That was a 59-kilometre time trial, 3 minutes 50 seconds back on Indurain, so we should be seeing some pretty good times as far as he's concerned. Richard Virenque coming in now, well, the lad who wore both the green and the polka dot jersey, the polka dot jersey and the yellow jersey briefly in the Tour de France last year. Virenque again attacked in the Pyrenees this year to try and do something spectacular. It didn't come off, but he certainly showed with that punchy style that he could stay with the best of them when he got to the mountains, and we look forward to this rider in the future. France with the best placed rider in 12th place overall on general classification, Doha, who also rides for the Festina team, the team that Martin Early rides for, my co-commentator on the 2 Thursdays in the mountains. Well, I'm sure we're going to see these young French riders beginning to come through and dominate the sport in the next few years' time. The big gap that's gone on this year between the old guard, the people like Motte and Bernard, are just a little bit off the edge, although Bernard is in fact the fastest rider we got so far on the time trial stage. Of course, the retirement in the race of Fignon took a bit of an edge out as far as the French were concerned. They were looking for him to get a victory somewhere. Well, that's give you some idea that, in fact, Bernard beat Ekimov, how Ekimov just died those odd 10 seconds. Zadnov at 23 seconds back. Well, he started quite quickly too, but still, Bernard, that's the one to beat when we get to the finish, because his time was 1 hour, 00 and 7 seconds. So just 7 seconds outside breaking the magic 1 hour, because that would have given him a speed of some 30 miles an hour. Here the riders with these triathlon handlebar positions, they've all gone over to those now for the time trials, and still many of them preferring the slightly smaller front wheel, the sloping down tube, and Well, we've seen this bloke in action so many times in the Tour so far this year, and they're coming up now. He's going to be just about inside the top 10, I suppose. Massimo Gallotto, who hauled his big frame over those mountains, and time after time was looking if he's going to get a stage victory. And of course, it was Claudio Chiappucci that popped past him the other day to get a victory, and that spoiled his opportunity of taking home that wonderful prize, because it was on the 17th stage of the race then that Chiappucci just went past him. He'd been away in a break with Unzago. The three of them rode a tremendous race over the tops of the final climbs of the day when they went over the attack coming down the Tourmalet, and then off they went over the Aubisque. Now then, here Andy Hampsten, pleased I'm sure that Motorola are going on to sponsor their team next year in the Tour de France. In fact, I just noticed the word Postobon up on the shoulder too, and I think there was some attempt to get some co-sponsorship. Then he's riding those unusual type of triathlon handlebars. They're full shape, full bore, all the way around they come. You see he's got his handlebar gear mechanism right on top. This fellow's got his down tube gear mechanism still on the down tube, but right in front of him is his meter. His pulse meter will be wired up so he knows what he's doing, just to keep an eye on what's happening. And there it is, just up in the centre of those handlebars. Some riders, in fact, prefer now to ride their ordinary road bike rather than have one of these low-profile machines with a small front wheel. But there's some advantage in the smaller front wheel, and certainly these wheels that now have only 3 or 4 spokes at the back are very much sought after by the riders. They're a little bit heavier, but they certainly cut through the air a lot better because they're very thin, right where the axle is in the centre. If we get a look at some of them, by the way, you'll see that when you spoke a wheel with normal wire spokes, as a Scartin coming in here, and let's have a look who's round about a Scartin, because this has got to be Gonzalez Arrieta. This is not a Scartin coming in now. We picked up the Festina rider, and I think it's Gonzalez Arrieta. There's a Scartin just finishing there. A useful ride, 102, and Gonzalez Arrieta will be. He's just been caught, in fact, so that's why they stayed with the Scartin's time. We bounce backwards and forwards, don't we? Back out again. Out with the Arrow Steer ride. I think this is Ellie we're picking back up again now from our helicopter. It'll probably give us some idea of what the roads are like around here. You see the bike there on the side, ready if he has a problem to quickly flick it down, and just one front and one rear wheel as a replacement for the riders. Yep, Elliot is. We're looking at now. Ariostia, another team that's going to pack up at the end of this year from their sponsorship of riders. Well, Perini almost didn't recognise him with that crash hat on, because he's the gentleman that parts his hair with the chamois leather, and I shouldn't say things like that, should I? But they are. He's not always instantly recognised in the peloton, but he's decided today to have that crash hat on to streamline the air over his body and to go through with the minimum amount of wind resistance possible. But you see he's got his elbows tucked out quite a bit, so he's not getting a lot of shelter from that position. It's not a good triathlon position at all. It's quite wide, his elbows are out. He could almost have ridden with ordinary handlebars. He's choosing to ride. We are, Little Devil, look at that on his crash hat. You didn't have a chance perhaps to see it totally, but Claudio Chiappucci underway now, lying 6th overall general classification, 14 minutes and 19 seconds in arrears behind Miguel Indurain. Is now off on the road until the top time to beat from Jean-Francois Bernard, 1 hour, 00 minutes and 07 seconds as such. Well, whilst you're taking a long top view, I was just talking there about Perini with his elbows sticking out. You've all caught up with the news which we broadcast yesterday for you, just shortly after it happened, about Boardman's hour record. Well, he got a very much tucked in position. If you see pictures of him in the papers, I'm sure this morning there's some pictures in the British papers, and I know a lot of cyclists know exactly where he's starting. This fellow's got his elbows in much closer and his hands together, and that has been proved time and time again that the closer you get in, the better it is. And of course, Boardman rides in a very, very flat position, And it was amazing that on the day that he actually went for the ride, a learned professor said that Bourbon wouldn't get the record because Aubrey's position was so unique. That's what helped him get the record. But Bourbon went and smashed it out of sight and smashed Moser's record likewise. So there we are then. We're going to take a short break. Do come back to us for more action from the Tour in a moment.
Live.
Well, as you join us here, Roche climbing up to this time point here. Zadnov there, he's going a bit slower than that, but it's still a useful ride for Roche. 32 then for Stephen at that time point. And now Bjorn Ries, lying 5th overall, 12 minutes 8 seconds back on Indurain. Chiappucci was 14.19. He's got to ride very hard indeed just to stay ahead of Claudio Chiappucci. I don't think he's going to catch Rominger, who is 5 minutes 41 behind Indurain, so it's like nearly 6.5 minutes separating this fellow from Rominger, but he's got to really defend his 5th place because Claudio Chiappucci will be keen to go and get that back. Well, earlier on we heard when you were watching the old advertisements there that John Doa from the Festina team, his team manager told him he was 15 seconds down. That's the fellow we're looking at now, Jean-Philippe Doa from France, the best placed French rider. He's 15 seconds down on Roche. Well, Roche went through that time check 32.32. And that time check, it's not a bad time, that one of Roche, because Bunyo's time at that particular point was 32.27. He's been going very quickly indeed. Ekimos' time 32.8, which is the fastest we had at that point. So Stephen was only something like about 24 seconds slower. Alcala 101.49. Just outside the hour, 1 minute and 49 seconds out. Here we are. That's that time check. Well, Bunyo has certainly been accelerating now. We thought that was going to happen then. 54 at that 42-kilometre checkpoint. So Bunyo certainly that sniff faster than Jean-Francois Bernard. So he is certainly digging deep here. We'll have to watch and see what he does in the final few kilometres, because that time check then at 42.5 kilometres, the overall distance stays 48 kilometres. He's only got less than 6 kilometres to go, so that could give us a new time slot to go for. Hamburger coming in here. Dominic Arnaud, just showing on the screen there, had quite a reasonable Tour de France. He's the world cyclo-cross champion, Dominic Arnaud, back there. And now the clock is ticking, showing he's losing a little bit out here. Well, Bo Hamburger, another of the young riders, he only turned pro, 18 months ago, I think it was, so he's a newcomer to the scene. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of him as well on the Danish riders. About, 7 Danes, I think, started the Tour de France this year and had some success, of course, with Jeske Skibby getting a stage victory. Well, we saw Ries go, now Rominger setting off in the start, has 3 minutes distance between these riders. But Rominger now, just think about this, the man behind him about to come up into the start house, he's 5 minutes and 41 seconds down on Indurain. Jaskula is 4:42. There's just that 1 minute and the 1 second that separates these two riders. That's Jaskula and Rominger. And Rominger is a first-class time trialist. So, this is a man in the Kingdom of his jersey. Won 2 stages in the Tour de France this year. The 2 stages that really mattered in the Alps as far as he was concerned. And now, super time trialist as well. He's on his way. Well, I would have thought that Rincon was enjoying his time trialing, but certainly this is a baptism of fire for some of these riders when they find themselves fixed in at this level. And so that's Martin, my mistake, because he's changed the hatband, hasn't he? They ride with these purple hatbands. They give me all sorts of troubles at the moment. But Martin, the first time we had a look at him actually, he's 11th overall in general classification, 24 minutes and 19 seconds down on the leader Indurain. So we've just seen Rominger go, so just 3 more riders yet to go out of the start point before we get back to the big man himself in the yellow jersey, Indurain, who will be, as always, the last man to go. That's part of the seeding they do. when we had the time trial at Lac de Madine, Indurain was not seeded except in his general classification overall, and he started out around about 29th from last, I think it was, when last started to go out, so he didn't get the time checks which he's going to get today, because one thing about being the last one on the road, you see a Rincon coming up, Zula's time. Zula, by the way, I didn't get his time. They didn't flash it up when they went through, and I'm waiting for a confirmation of that. Zula not particularly fast on the time trial today, and I think I put him in my prognostication, so I made a right old mess of that one. Zula was 5th at the Lac de Madine, but since he crashed going into the finish at Verdun, he's been a shadow of his former self. So it's a great shame that that crash happened, and here we go. This is the man we've got to watch for, because there's no doubt about it. The Bugno here, Jean-Francois Bernard's time's the one to beat at 1 minute and 7 seconds, and it looks like he's going to do it this one. We could have a new leader here. Gianni Bugno, second in the time trial at Lac de Madine. He's now getting out the saddle, and look at that, he's coming so close. He's got just about, 5 seconds to go, and he's across the line, and he's going to do it, and yes, by just 5 seconds he's done it. Well, a very, very strong finish indeed then for Gianni Bugno. Back out on the road now with Conti, who's doing quite a decent ride as well. But that performance by Gianni Bugno could be another second place for him. I say it could be another second place. He certainly finished strongly, and if Indurain does his usual powerful job, then I think we might well see Bugno's time as the one to be beaten. But still, Rominger's an extremely good time trialist, and I think we might well see him trying to pick up some time just to show that he can move up the general classification, beating Yaskula if possible. And Maika, well, he's a little rider we haven't yet spotted after the start. He's yet to come. Makia is a reasonable time trialist, but the gap between Rominger and Yaskula just 1 minute and 1 second, and then the Colombian rider is only some 14 seconds faster than Yaskula. So we've got a hell of a battle coming up later on as these later starters come through. Cabriolet rolling on in now. Sean Yates, by the way, did a 1:05, and I forget the seconds now, but you might see his name click up somewhere. Sean was just in the sort of mid-60s in the positions at the moment, and obviously he just rolled down, saving himself for tomorrow, because what he's going to try and do tomorrow is see if Motorola can get themselves another stage victory like that one had by Armstrong, because they're going to have to look after Chiandri tomorrow, and I'm sure that Sean rolled round today, 5 minutes outside the hour for 30 miles on undulating courses with little sharp hills in it. Isn't hanging about by any means, but Sean, a very good time trial, having won at a time trial stage in the Tour de France before, would normally go a bit quicker if he had to do. He didn't have to do today because on general classification he's quite a bit off the pace, and since 91st in general classification this morning, 2 hours 9 minutes and 9 seconds down, but did a wonderful job as far as most rolling. Oh, Brunel, look at that, 13 seconds faster at that time point than Ekimov. So that was quite a staggering performance. I saw that one flash up on the screen, and there's no doubt about it that Brunel's another super time trialist. This fellow here then, Vladimir Pulnikov from Carrera, who I just thought probably could be in with a shout for the team award today. Of course, Vanessa with Indurain, Vanessa with Jean-Francois Bernard, to have two good counters anyway. But with Carrera, Pulnikov, Chiappucci and Roche, all very good time trials. This is interesting. Parazin, that's not a bad time as far as he's concerned, because Yakimov had been fastest at that particular time check. See how close it was then with Bernard. Yakimov obviously faded just a little bit towards the end. Just dropped back. Oh, in fact, they've got an equal third at the moment, so Paladin, that's a useful time. Here we are then. Here for Motorola. We haven't seen Yaskula go. What a shame. We'll pick him up on the road, by the way. Here for Motorola. It's just 14 seconds faster than Yaskula.
He's 4 minutes 28 seconds down Indurain. There's no way he'll catch Indurain in his time trial, but he has to keep that 14 seconds gap between himself and Jaskula. And there he goes. A man who spent a lot of time in the mountains following the great mountain climbers is now out on his own. Punikov here on his own for Carrera. And he actually, again, at the moment on this little tough part here, preferring to hold on the outsides of the handlebars rather than move up into that central position. On the little tougher part, and particularly if you're getting the wind with you, then it's often advisable perhaps to stick your hands out like that, get some breath into your lungs. So many people have been talking about Graham Aubrey's position when he had that unusual egg position and saying that's the way he got the record. Well, yesterday Boardman proved that he can in fact do it in what I might call a more normal position. And I presume the good friends who've written into Eurosport from Dunfermline in Fife, by the way, the Stelly family, they've been great fans of Jalabert, who they call Jelly Baby for some reason. Well, unfortunately, he has retired from the race now, so I presume that they've also had some elation out of what's been going on because of the Scotsman Aubrey's performance. But nice to hear from you, Stelly family, and sorry about your number one favourite, Jalabert, Jelly Baby, out of the race. Not a good tour from him. He took the green jersey last year in the Tour de France. The green jersey now safely on the shoulders of Abdul Jafarov, who's got round the time trial. He's not going to get eliminated in this one, I can tell you. And we'll see him tomorrow trying to do what he can to demolish the barriers in the Champs-Élysées, I suppose. Already Paris almost en fait, ready for the Tour. The barriers are out there and all the preparations being made for the big finale tomorrow into Paris. And by the way, tomorrow, as they go from the start of the stage tomorrow, they are in fact going to pause. They're going to have to start proper at the Réveil Matin. The 90 years ago when the Tour de France first started outside a little cafe, they're going actually to the same place now tomorrow to start the stage proper. They'll roll out for a few kilometres till they get there, and then they're going to have the start proper outside the point where the first Tour de France ever started way back in 1903. So that's going to be a little bit of history reenacted tomorrow before they do that big circle into Paris, and then the 8 laps of the Champs-Élysées with the noise of the Spanish supporters of Indurain. Undoubtedly they'll be blasting away in everybody's ears tomorrow. It's been a great day, and so the British supporters who come out to watch it, I suppose they're revelling in the ride we had this last week in the hour record. This is time trialling of a different sort, by the way. I was interested to hear last night on the news programme when somebody interviewed Boardman and said, "How do you feel?" He said, "Chuffed, mate." I just find British expression. I'm not going to translate that into foreign language, but there we are then. So the best time then for Gianni Bugno so far is the one that's got to be beaten, and here the Jean-Philippe Doyer. Really, Francis Darling, he's not going to win this time trial, but he's the best placed Frenchman overall in the Tour this year, and he's really come into form just at the right time, and he will long remember this particular race, I think, to be the best Frenchman, so that will certainly get him a lot of support, and of course a lot of contracts to ride the little criteriums that go on, and you can hear the noise of that crowd. They were really right behind that fellow, weren't they? Massive crowd all around the course. Well, there are little gaps here and there, but generally speaking, on the points that matter, there's people out. Saturday being a great time. Of course, it's his holiday period, by the way. Jose Malone comes across the line, the class rider. They've ridden so well, class. Oh, he's out and he's gone. We didn't see him actually start. We didn't see Jaskula start, but now the great flotilla of vehicles will be following Miguel Indra. Miguel Indra here, an absolute expert when it comes to time trialing. He is virtually unbeatable at this, and I can't remember the last time that he was beaten. In fact, he was obviously a few years ago, but he won his first time trial in the Tour de l'Avenir in 1985. It was the 11th stage of the race, and that was when he really just showed everybody what he could do. And so here comes the time checks at the moment. Brunel Chiappucci there, 1 second better than Yakimov at that particular point. Elias there, well, we've had Bugno go through and set the best time so far, and they haven't referred to him on that particular checkpoint. I must make a quick note of that when it comes back up again and write it down, because I rather think somehow that 1 or 2 more people might be hammering after Bugno's position, and things might be changing yet. So we've got a lot more action coming up on the Tour, so join us after this break. Well, we're with the yellow jersey himself, and we can follow, I'm sure, large chunks of this ride along here. And I certainly don't intend to do what was suggested to us by a couple of Norwegian supporters of Eurosport, and I'll try and pronounce them as Andrei Bjorkovic and another one, N. Siljan of Norway. They've written a little poem here, or at least it's supposed to be sung to Singing in the Rain, and he's cycling in rain, just cycling in rain. What a glorious fighter, he's winning again. We talk of his name because he's worth all that fame. He's winning, just winning in rain. Well, I suppose if I could sing, then perhaps I would do it, but I can't. But thanks for sending that in anyway. Another little useful note here for us. And this fellow here, no doubt about it, they'll be singing in the Champs-Élysées tomorrow. The noise, the cacophony of the sound that comes up. And here, on his special low-profile Benesto bicycle, this man here, you can hear in the background the torrent of Czech information is coming through, putting him in the exact position of what's happening up there, because no doubt about it, Bunyo's been going extremely quickly so far and setting up some of the best times, and Brunel likewise, so we're really on a bit of a cliffhanger right now. Francovono. Oh, by the way, whilst we were off air, Robert Miller's time came in. He was 1 hour, 5 minutes and 46 seconds. So, another little note for the Steely family up there in Scotland. Your Scots rider, Robert Miller, came in around about 70-something overall. But they're running a look at that, 13:38 then. So, that is a tremendously quick time for Rominger. The best time Brunel had done before that one, 14:07. Rominger absolutely throwing down the gauntlet, and that's going to be the check, and that's been the one that Indurain will be having to watch out for. We're riding now with Brunel, who had set the fastest time at that first checkpoint at 14:07. They're coming in thick and fast now. There's no doubt about it. This time trial is developing a fair old battle. Let me flash these up. I'll have another little look, by the way. So my good friend Brian was unable to be with me today to write all these things down. So we're doing the commentary, writing down the notes, finding out bits of information for you, listening on the headphones for more information coming in, watching the little computer thing we've got, bringing up the times as well. So it's all systems go here. Polnikov. And now back out then with Brunel. Not a moment's rest, is there? The lovely cartoon that they had in Lake Keep when they had the team time trial, and it showed the team, the director sportive, but they turned all the team time trial blokes into galley slaves on the oars, and they had the team time trial with this team manager beating on a drum like they used to do in the old galleys to make sure they rode at the right speed. Well, here again, all these riders, the top ones, have their team manager with a microphone bellowing away at them, amplified sound and noise from the people going away as well. Indurain then on his very special bike here. Let me tell you a bit about it, by the way, that he rides Victoria Corsa CX tyres, 200 grams, and he puts around about 9 to 10 kilograms of air into the tyres, and he rides enormously big cranks, 180-metre cranks he's got rather than 175 that most other people do. His bike's totally equipped with Campagnola, the celebrated series of the record series, and he usually rides 44.55 on the front, and the back runs 12 to 19. So if it's going to be a bit hilly, he'll put 54 on the front anyway. But today I'm pretty sure he's rolling out 55. And see there, look at that great big gear going around. He's got his 55 really locked in now. That very special bike, a classic one made for him by the Pinero business people. And well, Madouas coming up the finishing straight now. Another of these young riders, this one from the Castorama team. The Castorama team, undoubtedly, they've got another year's contract as well to run, or at least they've had it signed for another year, and building up this young team that Cyril Guimard's been bringing along. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of these riders. They've been very entertaining throughout the Tour. Jacques Durand, the champion of France, was always prepared to have a go at something, and one by one they try. They're always having to get in there, and I think we'll see more of them in the future too as well. So back out then with Mikael Indurain. Clipping the corners. They had a long old ride yesterday in the train to come up to their accommodation. And then we have it, 13:38, Rominger. Jaskula, we've got him at 22 seconds behind him. And Brunel, that just shows you then how fast then Rominger's going at the moment. So I make that roughly 14 minutes dead for Jaskula at that particular time check. And behind them, here comes Delgado. You can see the loudspeaker in the background from his team manager. Well, this morning he started in 9th place on general classification, 19 minutes 21 seconds down. He is, 1 minute 22 seconds ahead of Kulnikov on general classification. I wouldn't have thought that Kulnikov's going to pull that 1 minute 22 seconds out, but Kulnikov's been going quite quickly anyway. So Delgado at that point, 33.21. Nice top shot then of Andy Hampson, 7th place overall, and Richard Frank here, just to keep his time down there. That was the winner of the stage. Well, he should stay just inside the top 40, but many of these riders further down the classification, there's such a big gap between them. But, Brunel now, this is the man who's been setting some extremely quick time. You see Ekimov down there had the fastest time at this point here, this being the 26-kilometre point on the race. 31.27 coming up. He looks like he's certainly going to be faster at this point than Ekimov. He was faster at the first 10-kilometre point. He should get this one then. Waiting for that clock to stop, 31.52. It's getting very close to it, but he should be okay. 31.57, that's it. So that is the fastest time we've got at the moment. Jean Brunel missed the Tour de France last year through injuries, and now putting up some extremely quick times indeed. But Andy Hampson, I don't think that he's going to trouble anybody. Useful rider, but let's look at Hampson's position at the moment. Well, Brunel, this could be difficult for him, because Brunel this morning was just a couple of minutes behind Hampson. In fact, to be exact, 1 minute and 55 seconds. So Hampson's got to come into that finishing straight that much ahead of him. So Andy Hampson here, his position of 7th under threat by Brunel, is absolutely flying around the course. So that gap, as I say, 1 minute and 55 seconds, so that could be quite a difficult thing, and if he drops out from 7th to 8th, it means a fair difference in the money you get at the end of it all. And Claudio Chiappucci 14.19, so in fact he's some 16 seconds. He goes under that time check, and in fact it's 25 kilometres to go. He's some 16 seconds slower than Chiappucci on general classification, but I think Chiappucci is that slightly sharper time trials. Certainly we've seen some time checks coming in down the road, so I think that Hampson won't catch Chiappucci, but he's got to watch out for Brunel, who's coming out very, very quickly indeed. So Jaskula just 22 seconds behind the fastest rider at the 10.8 kilometre mark. Tony Rominger, who is now really beginning to rattle a few swords. That's quite a useful ride by Ellie. But you've been seeing those top 5 positions come up on our screen. He certainly might just about make the top 10 with a bit of luck, but he's not going to at the moment keep that 5th place much longer. I thought the way in which people like Brunel and Rominger, Jaskula and Indurain are going around this course. Saying that Eric Brukink is out of the frame this time. He finished in 3rd place in the Lac de Madine, but he's gone home. He'd had some trouble with his knee when he was fetched down on the opening day, or in fact before he even started the tour. He was fetched down by a lady driver, and poor Brunel was the problem that Brukink has been struggling ever since that, so he retired on stage 3. Just watching the superb performance this man, that victory at the Lac de Marine I was talking about, where Bretigny was third. Miguel Indurain covered the distance of 59 kilometres in 1 hour 12 minutes and 50 seconds, and today we're just doing 48 kilometres, and really the whole thought is we'll wait for the early time checks to come in, but just how much he's going to punch out of everybody else on this one. His reputations in the Tours is absolutely tremendous, because in the Tour de France in '93 he dominated that one as well by taking the prologue in that one and taking his yellow jersey as well, and he opened up this time with the same. And let's look at that. Indurain 23 seconds back on Rominger. Well, that is a bit of a sort out there. So 23 seconds back. At the early time check, well, he probably started a bit slower. I'm just having a look at the chart which we had from the that Lac de Marine, because I've got to hear someone on these thousands of notes. Yes, it's Kipchoge is going through here. Indurain was fastest at 19.5 kilometres, fastest at 20, fastest all the way through. Rominger lost 36 seconds on Indurain the first 19.5 kilometres in that time trial, and he went on to be a bit further off the pace, 1:58 after 42 kilometres, and Rominger dropped back to be 2:42 down on Indurain at the end of it all. So Indurain is not having it all his own way at the moment. Roche, Stephen again has said in the paper this morning this is his last Tour de France. I had hoped, I heard also that he thought he might ride again next year. It looks like he's going to do a very useful little ride here. He's going to finish inside the top 5 at the moment, but there's a faster man out on the course, I think, because there is time. Good ride by Roche, puts him into 5th place, 1 hour 1 minute exactly. So Stephen in 5th place at the moment. Kipchoge. He's got a big gap between himself and Bjorn Rees. And this is a little devil himself. You can see that devil on his hat. And Claudio, very pleased indeed to get his stage victory in the Tour this year. He was searching all the time for it, and we kept saying, well, sooner or later Claudio's going to do something as soon as he gets good, and he did just that then on stage 17, the last of the hilly days we had before we got down into the flatland. So on the stage from Tarbes to Pau, when he took off from over the top of the Tourmalet, and then down he rode something like over 100 kilometres with Carotto and Unzaga into Pau to get the stage. Look at him here, he's absolutely hammering away, isn't he? And he's doing a fair old ride. So Kipchoge battling out with Bernard. The best time we've got at the moment from Gianni Bugno of 1 hour and exactly, so he's checking his notes here, 3 seconds. So Bugno the fastest, Jean-Francois Bernard 1:00:7 seconds, so he's 1 hour and 7 seconds, Bugno 1 hour and 3, and this man is already trailing at the moment. He's 23 seconds down on Tony Rominger, who's been setting the fastest paces so far. Well, just checking here, in fact at the moment Machia has lost 23 seconds on Yaskula at the time check after 10 kilometres, so he's now behind Yaskula on general classification. So Machia dropped out of 2nd to 3rd spot at the moment. Rominger then will also be challenging him, because Rominger is going extremely quickly. The gap between Machia and Rominger this morning was, 1 minute and, I don't know what is that for you, 1 minute and 21 minutes. Oh, talk amongst yourselves while I do my sums here. I didn't write this one down before we came on air. I thought I'd cut most of them sorted, but I missed out the thought that those two might be wanting to change places. And so, after watching Indurain here, certainly Yaskula's gone past him. Yep, about a minute and 12, I think, back to Tony Rominger. 5 minute and 22 seconds. Yep. So 1:22 separates Machia from Rominger. So Rominger might well move up into second or third place. So the battle really is today for second and third places. And Indurain is behind Indurain is behind Rominger, lost 23 seconds, and he's already lost 1 second on Jaskula as well. So Indurain looks like he's not going to win this time trial if this one keeps up. So we thought it was going to be a foregone conclusion that Indurain would get the time trial, but he's got to pull something out the back because Rominger is absolutely giving him some stick. Watching Bjorn Riis here, the ex-champion of Denmark. Riis has had a superb tour. Nobody expected when we started the tour this year that this man would ride as well as he's been doing, because he just hasn't had the sort of reputation that a lot of the riders have had that he's been contesting, because Riis really, when he came into the tour, he'd been amateur champion of Denmark in the team time trial way back in 1985. He'd already ridden for other people. He was champion of Denmark in 1992. He won that stage in the tour this year from Paris to Chalon-sur-Marne, and really since he got that stage, he's given a new lease of life. A couple of stages in the Tour of Italy, one this year and one in '89, and 3 stages in the Tour of the EC. So he's only had 6 victories at all, and then Bjorn Riis really has come into his own in the Tour this year, and that was really great to see. So this fellow isn't been looked upon as a mountain climber. He's 1.84 metres high, weighs 71 kilograms, so he's a big, heavy chap, and he struggled over the mountains, defending that 5th position. His team as well the other day really hammered along on the front to keep him in contention. There, Rominger's coming through here. We've got this is the man we've got to watch out for, flashing back very quickly from the figure of Bjorn Riis towards Rominger coming into here now. Brunel's fastest time, and he's going to really knock hell out of this one. 30.33. That is a brilliant ride by Tony Rominger. He's setting this race alight now. He's showing a sort of fire that we haven't seen in the Tour, except just that once up the Tourmalet when he went and rode over the top and knocked some 50-odd seconds out of Indurain. And most of the time, in fact, there's a cartoon this morning in the Lake Keep of Rominger, at least Rominger, was a rider in a polka dot jersey, and alongside him is a much bigger rider, which is obviously a yellow jersey, with a big cushion drawn between the two heads. They're riding along the Champs-Élysées, and they've got lots of, if they're sleeping, coming out from them, and on either side the crowd is doing the same, and the bunch is doing the same behind, because the two have been inseparable, Rominger and Indurain, but now we're seeing that perhaps it's going to change. These other riders coming in here, Conti trying to get inside the top 10, just about to finish, and that will 1:01:33, but I think he won't keep that position very long. It looked like Rincon just behind him. The cameras didn't stay on the other chap coming in from the mire, but that I think was Rincon just behind him. He'd been caught then for some 3 minutes. It won't take long now for Stephen Roche to come in. He's going to be about another 3 minutes or so, I suppose. We're looking down there at this figure of Rominger. Look at the powerful legs. He really is plowing along here, isn't he? And back then with Miguel Indurain. This is a fair old battle. What a way to finish the tour. And we're always saying, well, who will be second in the time trial to Indurain? And what we should have said was, how much is Rominger going to knock out of him? Certainly can't get that 5 minutes and 41 seconds back to separate himself from Indurain on general classification, but he's going to give it some good stick here as well. Because he's quite not only a good time trial, but we've seen him, for instance, in the races like the Tour of Lombardy, right off on his own and quite capable of coming in on his own. This man, not normally a man to go out and attempt to win on his own. He can just ride in with the races. He wastes his time trials, and in fact there's a very interesting sum done in the one of the sports magazines last year that I read out that where they actually took Indurain's performance last year in the Tour de France. They extracted the time trial performances from the results. They took everybody's time trial performances out and just said, well, let's look at the road stage and see what happens. In fact, Kippucci was going to be first then, 4 minutes ahead of Hampshire, and Indurain back in third place. So it just shows you how the time trials can in fact affect things. And they did the same thing the year before and said, well, if we took all the time trials out, what would happen? And in fact, Charlie Motti would have run out the winner in 1991 with Indurain at 1 minute and 11 seconds. So the time trials, very, very important in the Tour de France, but of course they're not the be-all, end-all. You've got to be able to get over the mountains and conserve whatever strength you've had in the mountains. You mustn't blow it all and just stay there in content. You can't rely upon the time trials alone as a way of winning the Tour. You've got to be a great all-rounder. This man has shown that he's an all-rounder because he's wearing the polka dot jersey as the king of the mountains, and that just shows he can climb mountains. He's showing us today that he can really time trial as well. So Parazan coming in, that's a useful ride as far as he's concerned. None of the sort of, I'll say, revelations, but he's done an extremely good ride. He's in fact 13th place overall. And here we are. Rominger now is about to pull in Bjorn Rees. He's caught him for 3 minutes. Caught him for 3 minutes, and there he goes. 3 minutes he's caught him for already. And look at the gaps opening up at the moment. 1 minute 24 on Brunel. This is a superb time trialing machine we're watching here at the moment. Well, when this tour finishes, he's got just a couple other small events, but he's virtually said, that's it, I'm off on holiday. And really, Tony Rominger showing that if he hadn't had those problems when his team in the team time trial started less 2 men, and here Bjorn Rees being caught for 3 minutes. The gap between this morning, between Rominger and Rees, was well over, what, 6 minutes, I suppose, 6 minutes 20 odd seconds. So he may, I don't know if he can knock another 3 minutes out of Rees before the end, but he might in fact be climbing up. In fact, no, he's so far away from Rees, that's why, there's no doubt about it. But Rominger at the moment really keeping on to that 4th place. We might well see him, I think, moving up into 2nd or 3rd at this rate, does not. 1 minute 23 seconds he's got to get past Mayfair, and I think he's going to do that. We may be looking at the 2nd place man overall on the general classification with this superb time trial that he's putting in now. When the World Cup was held as a time trial in 1990, he took 2nd place in that one. That just gives you some idea of his time trialing ability. Beautiful stylist. Won 3 stages in the Tour of Spain this year when he won the race for the 2nd year in succession. And I think probably might find when we watched him in the Tour of Lombardy back in the last year, he just time trial into finish, loving the very, very difficult conditions they were. And it's Grand Prix de Nation, by the way. It's another great time trial. This fellow finished 3rd in 1990, 6th in 1989. He was 9th in 1987, 5th in 1986, and 10th in 1985. So that gives you some idea of his time trialing ability, because the Grand Prix de Nation has always been looked upon as the pinnacle of time trialists. And they always had a 3rd, a 6th, a 9th, a 5th, and a 10th. So he can really climb mountains. He can really roll the gears down when the time comes. And look at that position too, quite laid back, but not too narrow at the front, but he's pushing quite big gears around. He's down narrow that back wheel as well. I was talking earlier on how the spokes on a normal wheel get into the air. Well, these disc wheels they've got now cut through the air because there is just about no width to those wheels at all. They just go straight into the hub, and that really minimises the wind resistance for all riders using this new modern technical help. Well, Indurain now got enormous stamina and strength, this fellow. Hello, what's he doing now? He was rubbing his hands on his thighs for some reason. Surely he can't be cramping up. And I wouldn't have thought in just 1 hour that he's actually going to eat. No, he's not doing that. And That was odd. He put his hand onto his trouser leg and just rubbed it up and down a little bit. Perhaps he's just cramping up slightly. Well, he said actually that when he was dropped on the climb up the Tourmalet by Rominger, that in fact he rode at his own pace and he wasn't in any trouble at all, and he'd gone at the pace of his teammate Carospe, and he knew he'd get it on the descent the other side, and so there was nothing to be worried about, because he's a superbly fine descender. But I thought when we had a photograph of his face, he looked like he's struggling, because this man just once in the race, I mean, he tried a couple other times, but just once in the race, that one occasion, this fellow Rominger absolutely sprinted away up that hill. I think the change of pace caused trouble. So Rominger here, I think he's going to throw down the gauntlet and say, look, I can climb mountains, and I can make things difficult next year. So our sympathies go to this man at the moment, Mahia, who looks like he's going to lose his second place. He might even lose his third place as well, as the top Frenchman on general classification, 102.41 comes in. He's fairly well down, but he won't lose all that much. I'm just looking back to where other people are around about him. Parazin might have gone past him. Yes, I think he has. Parazin could have overtaken him. He might be down to 13th place now. But they're just shopping round one or two places, these riders, because the gaps are quite considerable if you look down the general classification. Some riders are apart of each other by several minutes, where some of them just by a few seconds. So the time then for Mahia, 32.41, was the one time we got down here, so he's still going quite quickly, but Brunel, here we go then, second overall on general classification, 32.41 it is. Oh, he's back 12th, you see. Well, that could be quite a bit much for him, because I'm looking here at the other time. You see Rominger 30.33 at that particular point here. Indurain coming along. Jaskula 31.16 at that point. Indurain battling still to even get into second place. He should just about do it. He's picking up now time, but he's got to really sprint some now. Indurain fighting just to stay in second place. At this particular time check, what's it going to be? He might not make it. 31.16 was Jaskula's time. He's going to be outside it. So he's now 31.18. Well, a tremendous ride from Rominger, because I've just done a quick check now. At that particular point, Rominger went over in 30.33. You can see then at that's the overall general classification. Bjorn Ries can't do anything about catching up with Rominger. Rominger now is moving through ahead of Maika and ahead of Jaskula. But at that particular point, Rominger went through in 30.33 and Indurain went through in 31.18. So it is some 45 seconds between them. In fact, hello? Where have they got that from? Oh, that's right. I looked up and saw that list. I realised that's the overall general classification. I've been doing the sums here, which shows the battle going on between Rominger and Indurain. This is Jaskula. We haven't actually, thank goodness we've gone back up to him, because we haven't been seeing much of him. And he, in fact, now is lying in second place, according to those time checks we had further down. Second place behind Rominger on the time trial. Indurain in third at 31.18 after the 26-kilometre point. Well, Rominger's already caught and dropped Bjorn Ries to 3 minutes, and that's after 26 kilometres. It's highly probable, actually, that Rominger can certainly move into second place overall the way he's going, because Jaskula and Rominger this morning, just having a look here at their two times, they were only a minute and a bit separating these two on the classifications. To be precise, 1 minute and 1 second as Martin comes in then. Well, Jaskula's rolling and rocking a bit here. Quite a useful time trial, this Jaskula, in the Tour of Switzerland. That was a shorter time trial, actually. He won that one. That was, just over 12 kilometres, when he beat Rominger, actually, in that shorter one, was, let's see, at 1 minute and 30 seconds. So it just shows how Romiger's come into form, and Jaskula here at the moment not doing what he did in the Tour of Switzerland, because he is just riding through here now, battling for that second place. Romiger has really set it up a fast time, but we know with Jaskula that he can in fact finish very fast indeed. He's a very, very fast finisher. The best time we've had so far, he's just come in Switzerland for the Tour de France. I can tell you that Gianni Bugno has set the fastest time at exactly 1 hour and 3 seconds. Jean-Francois Bernard is in second place, 1 hour and 7 seconds. The last we had, Stephen Roche was back in about 5th place, 1 hour and 1 minute. So you've now got both of them on your screens here, completely contrasting riders. Romiger much shorter, much smaller than the big man Miguel Indurain. Indurain having this enormous capacity for time trialling, but right now he's having to use all those skills to try and hold on to the flying Romiger. Well, we've just got a time check in here that looks like he's losing out. Alvaro Mejia has lost over 1 minute and 3 seconds on Romiger. So Romiger now 45 seconds up on Indurain. Jaskula is 2 seconds ahead of Indurain. Pulikov coming in now. That time in the top left-hand corner is the fastest time to date. Pulikov's time now 1:02.33. Just keep him inside the top 20, I'd have thought. Oh, Romiger. In fact, he's getting his instructions to the back here in them. Time checks are actually going in Spanish to Romiger. He speaks about 4 or 5 languages actually, Romiger. And here, Miguel Indurain. The crowd cheering the man in yellow jersey, because whilst he might lose his time trial yet to Romiger, those 45 seconds separating them. Romiger just started 3, 6, 9 minutes ahead of Indurain, so of course they can get the time checks back to Indurain. And also the team manager here what they do, they put cars out on the course to relay via the CB radios to the team managers what the riders are doing. They do their own time checks so that they know where they are. And now Romiger knows that it's looking like he might well win this one at the moment. Quite a useful time trialist. And now Jaskula. Well, that'd be set up for the books if this fellow can finish in second place. But both he and Indurain are very good, strong finishers coming in towards the finish. So they might be picking up their pace just a little bit here. And Indurain at the back. Who did that tremendous time trial last year in Luxembourg when over 65 kilometres. He was 3 minutes ahead of De La Cuevas, 3 minutes 41 seconds ahead of Bugno, and on that occasion he was 3 minutes 3:47 ahead of Jaskula. So it's amazing now, he's just 2 seconds down on Jaskula. Jaskula just 12 months ago was 3 minutes 47 down. This is Brunel, who's been setting some fast paces. Are we going to get a new leader here? Brunel out of the saddle. Really hammering in here. That's the time to beat from Gianni Bugno, and it looks like he's going to do it. This is going to be a new leader, pushing Bernard down into 3rd place. He ought to do it, and that's the first one inside the hour for exactly 48 kilometres, which is exactly 30 mile, 59 minutes 18 seconds. So that is a tremendous ride. All your time trialists back in Great Britain who spend the time trying to get inside 25 miles inside the hour on drag strips, and I know it's sort of target for many people. Many riders do it now, but getting 30 miles inside the hour on an undulating course like this, after you've been riding as well. This is the 19th day of riding in the Tour de France. The whole distance, 3,720 kilometres for the race, and tomorrow the stage will cover, as he's flicking through his papers here, it's about 160 kilometres, I suppose. So these riders really have done something like 3,500 kilometres and still able to go at this great speed on this time trial. Well, Yaskula on his nice Yankee bike with that curved top tube, another way in which they try and smooth the flow of air over the bicycle. Again with these multi-spoke, maybe 3 or 4 spoke wheels at the back. A Polish rider here getting loads and loads of information from behind. The fact he's ahead of Indurain, you know about it. Very good time trialist, by the way, because as an amateur then, he got a medal in the 100-kilometre against the watch at the Olympic Games when he was with his team time trials then. So he's had a couple of medals, in fact, as a rider in the time trials in the Polish team. But this fellow here from Switzerland, Tony Rominger, will know what the fastest time to date is, that of Brunel, but he's been ahead of Brunel's time. I'm just looking now at what Brunel did at that 26-kilometre point. Brunel 31.57, Rominger went through there 30.33. So he's considerably quicker, something like about 36 seconds faster than Brunel, who's given us the best time so far of 59 minutes and 18 seconds. This is a tough part. You can see they've got 2 fourth category climbs on here, by the way, for the riders to take into account. And there, just 10 kilometres to go for the man who it looks like he's moving up now. He was on his way to take second place on general classification, but Rominger, let's see. And Yaskula, yes, this is the one, because they started out 1 minute and 1 second apart. I think just see down there they've got the 1:08 and the 09. So at the moment there's only a few seconds separated. Rominger might in fact be moving over to second place. Yaskula is fighting here with 10 kilometres to go to hang on to that second place, because Bachia from Motorola is really dropping out the frame now. He's lost a lot of time on this time trial stage then. So Brunel, our fastest rider so far, 36 seconds faster than Bunyo. Bernard in third spot at the moment. Ekimov in fourth spot. Roche I had in fifth spot behind the Lovio, in fact, is the next one, then Roche. So massive crowd here, very appreciative of the efforts, because they've got the radios tuned in and they know now what's happening out on the road. And what's happening is that this man here, Tony Rominger, is ahead of Indurain by 45 seconds at the last check. Brunel's time the best one to beat at the moment. At the 42-kilometre point, Brunel was 36 seconds faster than Bunyo. And he kept that right the way through to the end, because he finished off by being some 45 seconds ahead of Brunel at the end. So Brunel was accelerating all the way through. A very, very good ride indeed for Brunel, who has already won a stage in the Tour. We didn't have a lot of time with him, by the way, Brunel, so just let's say well done to him, because he's already now in the lead here. And we're looking at Rominger. So for Brunel, 20 victories in his career so far. Stage victory in the Tour de France this year to add to his enormous great list of successes. One thing about Brunel, I've just mentioned while we're looking at Rominger here, because we didn't see a lot of him, but he did actually win the Grand Prix Eddie Merckx, that's against the watch race way back in 1986. So we knew Brunel was a very, very useful time trialist indeed. And that's why he set up that superb performance. This is the battle then for honour today. There's no doubt that everybody here is seeing a cracking race that will be taken up again next year in 12 months' time. Fitness and all the other things willing that we should see these two riders in the Tour de France next year, because although Indurain started today 5 minutes and 41 seconds ahead of Rominger on general classification, Miguel Indurain, the giant when it comes to time trialling, this was going to be his 25th or might still be his 25th time trial victory if this man blows up. Because Rominger, though, looking very good, very cool, calm and collected at the moment, but there's a lot of power going down in those thighs. You can see that the performance he's putting in all the way through, rolling hard there on the pedals and spinning it round. He's got quite a big gear going. He's actually flexing and seems to be going a little bit more freely than does Indurain. It's got that sort of slightly more. Look at this one then. No, that's your general classification, by the way. Overall, that's the one we've been talking about with the gaps. But there we are now. This is a shuttle, by the way. After this 35 kilometres, so they looked again at the general classification. Rominger now has moved up ahead of Gascula into second place. That gives you some idea that his way it could end up, but still, the fight back can happen. Gascula here, somewhat a slower starter, and I say this man here too really dominating the race today. A superb ride as far as he's concerned. It's going to really move him up in the general classification, so he'll be there not only to get the award for the King of the Mountains, it looks like he'll get it as well for second place on general classification, so this is going to be quite a big payday as far as Rominger is concerned. Andy Hampson just ahead of Aldag, the Telecom rider. In fact, that's changed again as we say it, so Andy, no great concern. Oh, in fact, he looked like he was going to be nearly caught then by Claudio Chiappucci. Claudio Chiappucci could see him, and this is a fair old ride. Claudio was getting some quite useful time checks earlier on, and just inside Roche's time, 1:00:43. So 43 seconds outside the hour, but he just moved ahead of Roche. Just not letting up at all. So quite a few changes then on the result we had in the time trial stage at Lac de Marine, because there Brunier was 6th, Brunier was 2nd, Rominger was 4th, Zuller, who's finished and out of the frame, was 5th on that day. But now this man Rominger has come up. Hello. We're going back now. What's happened? Oh, this is terrible. I couldn't see what had happened to his bike. It obviously wasn't a puncture, because he would have changed the wheel, that I'm sure. So that was our slow motion. We were off air when that one happened, and so now with 1 kilometre to go, despite that problem, then Tony Rominger now is really thundering on in. This is going to be the time to watch. With 1 kilometre to go, an excellent time trialist, and now he's proved it to us. Well, his wife and daughter are going to be very pleased with this one. I said to him that they were actually shouting out in Spanish. I think he understands Italian, Danish, Dutch and English and French as well. And so Tony Rominger then, actually born outside Switzerland. I think he was born in Denmark as such, but Rominger now, look at this great crowd here. The public address will have told them just what he's doing on this time trial, and out comes the applause and out come the watchers, and everybody's checking here then just to see what he's going to do this time. And look at that one, he's going to really trounce Brunel's time. This is going to be a phenomenally fast time for Rominger. And we can ask ourselves what would have happened if he hadn't had that trouble in the team time trial. What would have happened if he just ridden a bit harder in some of the mountains. He said he's been totally fatigued, very tired indeed in this race. But next year, if he really makes this his #1 objective, we can have an even closer race, that I'm sure. Look at that, 57 minutes and 2 seconds, Rominger's time. Some 2 minutes faster than that of Brunel, despite the fact that he had that problem with his bike and had to change his bike over. So he set some very, very fast times on the way around this course today, has Tony Rominger. And that then, at the cold, just shows it that look at the damage he's been doing here. We'll wait for Indrain's time yet to come through, because he's the last man on the road. Mashir, unfortunately, we're not seeing now, is really dropping out of the frame, and I'm looking at Rees's time as to see whether in fact he might drop down, but I hope he still stays in just in fourth place, Mashir, because he's really been riding the mountains well, but he just didn't have quite that edge when it came to the time trial part of the race. I don't know how he looks there. He certainly hasn't been putting his hand down onto his thigh at all, so perhaps that was just a momentary thing. He might just have been wiping some of the sweat off his hands. I don't know, because he's got gloves there. I shouldn't think that was necessary, but look at this. John Rees coming in. This has been a war of attrition as far as he's concerned. He's been absolutely hanging on to every vital second he could do, because Chiappucci was just a couple of minutes adrift of him, and let's see what happens, whether Chiappucci might have gone over and overtaken him, because Chiappucci's time 1:00:43, and he's going to be here. It might be outside. Will it be 1:02? I think 1:02.2. So I'll do a little quick sum to see what's happened then to Rees, because Chiappucci might have gone over him on classification. Well, Yaskula here, rocking away and fighting the bike. Not one of the world's greatest, stylists at the time trialling. But just looking at Claudio Chiappucci's time, 17:19, 1 minute 19 seconds better than Bjorn Rees. And he started out this morning behind Bjorn Rees. Let's have a look what it was. 2 minutes and 11. So in fact, Claudio Chiappucci hasn't caught Bjorn Rees. He's narrowed the gap down, but he hasn't caught him at all. And we're going back then now to look at this rider here on his Bianchi blue bicycle with that curved seat tube, so he gets the front wheel, back wheel right up close to his bottom bracket. And here, Miguel Indurain on that very special bike. Let me run through the specification again for the experts who may not have heard it earlier on. The Vittoria Corsa CX tyres, 200 grams, riding on 180mm cranks, rides a 44 by 55 front rings, 12 to 19 teeth at the back. And now we're putting the gears down a little bit on this climb. Bike equipped throughout with Campagnola Record Series, a classic sort of time trial, low profile bicycle. And here we go, 1 kilometre for Yaskula. Oh, he looks like he might well do Brunel's time. He could be second on the Classic 8. I told this fellow starts a bit slowly and then accelerates, and so at the moment then he could well beat Brunel's time. Rominger's time 57:02 has already gone outside that one. $59.18 to beat. He'll be able to hear the loudspeakers, he'll be able to see the finish shortly. And here he is then, Yaskula, trying to take second place off Brunel. He's really fought his way around this course today. And he's got to do everything he can to try and stay away from Rominger, because the gap between the two of them, 1 minute and 1 second. He's digging right deep now, so the gap this morning, 1 minute and 1 second between Yaskula and Rominger. And Rominger's 57:02. It looks like Rominger's now gone past him then at 58:43. 58:50 it is for Yaskula. So in fact, it's 1 minute and 50 seconds slower than Rominger. So if now then Yaskula 58:50, that means that on the general classification then Rominger now has moved ahead of, this is the position at the moment, by the way, at the 42.5 kilometre point. Indurain 1 minute 3 back on Rominger. Well, that's going to take some catching back, and this is the general classification that they've run through. So Rominger moved up into second, Jaskula back in third, according to that one. Well, Indurain has had a real battle on his hands today. That gap of 1 minute and 1 second that separated Jaskula and Rominger this morning, absolutely shattered apart then by Rominger's fine ride of 57 minutes and 2 seconds. Jaskula could only do 58.50, so there was in the end a gap of 1 minute and 48 seconds, and that is why Rominger has gone ahead over the top of Jaskula on the blended classification. Now into second place, so Jaskula's dropped back into third. Well, sorry, still in third, because he was third this morning. What's happened, of course, is Machia, a Motorola, has been dropping out the frame. We haven't had any recent time checks for him, but he'd been caught by 3 minutes by his 3-minute man very quickly today. So I feel that somehow that Machia will be just about hanging on ahead of Bjorn Rees, who's back in 5th overall this morning. But we'll have to wait for all the time checks to come in. These are my little independent checks at the moment. So the position at the moment as Indurain heads on in to the finish is that Rominger has set the fastest time, 57 minutes and 2 seconds. Jaskula lying second, 58.50. Brunel lying third, 59.18. Bunyo in fourth place, 1 hour and 3 seconds exactly. Jean-Francois Bernard back in fifth, 1 hour and 7 seconds. And then we have Yekimov, Luvio, Kiepucci and Roche in that order. So those are our top 9 riders. It looks like Stephen Roche, subject to final check, will just get inside the top 10 riders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's lying 9th at the moment, and I think that Indurain here, he's certainly going to beat Roche's time of 1 hour and 1 minute. So Miguel Indurain rolling on in on that special bike here, the low-profile bike, which has taken to so many victories, 24 victories in time trials so far that he's had. And he's done some very, very quick runs indeed, because in that the Tour to Blois time trial stage, 64 kilometres, he actually did a record average of 52.352 kilometres per hour. Then he broke that record in Luxembourg last year. So very, very superb time trials, and now he's beginning to catch up with his 3-minute man here. Let's watch this one as he goes through. No, speed, he's coming back very hard now, Indurain. He started slow, he started sluggish, but he's coming back very quickly indeed now. And there, Machia up in front of him, his 3-minute man, he's going to catch him. Well, the Colombian, these two have been locked together in the Alps, locked together in the Pyrenees, and this little red thing says stop there, stop there, stop there. We're not allowed to go through on this narrow part here. 1 kilometre to go. They want us to stop back then. So Indurain goes through because we don't want to get between Machia and Indurain and give any towing at all. So that's the time to beat, 57.02. 1 kilometre to go, and that should be about a minute and something, so it'd be 57. No, Indurain is not going to beat the time of Rominger. We'll see that 57 minutes go any moment, and here Machia is fighting back. He's just 3 minutes, he's hanging on for grim death here, Machia, but I think he's lost his position in the general classification as second. He's going to drop down to fourth. Indurain then is going to suffer what he hasn't suffered for a long time in a time trial. He's going to be beaten by Tony Rominger, and he'll have to fight to stay in second place, because Jaskula's time there is the one to beat at 58.50. So look at him gritting his teeth. He really is fighting back, and he's a superb athlete, this man, and he's really ridden this Tour de France. He's judged everything all the way around. He's judged it to perfection, and in this time trial we thought that perhaps he would punch minutes out of most of the opposition. It hasn't happened that way, so perhaps he's under more pressure than many people thought in the Alps and in the Pyrenees. He's got the yellow jersey still, but he hasn't got this one. But he's just gone into second place then at 57.44, just ahead then of Jaskula. But that was a fine fight back, by the way. He got to within, 42 seconds of Rominger at the end of it all, and that probably had something to do with Rominger having to change his bike. He must have lost a bit of rhythm then, but no doubt Indurain fought his way back in those final few kilometres, and he closed up to within 42 seconds of Rominger. So we had another cracking time trial here but it's not enough to change the overall classification as far as Indurain is concerned. He's still in yellow for tomorrow. There you are, confirmation of that ride. A superb performance by Gianni Bugno early on to set the marker for the rest to go for. Then Brunel cracked it, and from then on in, we could tell from the time checks that Rominger was going to be the man to beat. At the end, he got that one, and Indurain fought his way back in a superb style towards the end. He's always been around about 40-odd seconds down. He didn't lose any more towards the back end of the race. In fact, he's doing what he could to cut it back. So we're down near the motor race track at Montlhery. Montlhery's seen some very great speed work in the past at the motor racing track, but right now they saw speed work for Tony Rominger to win yet another stage of the Tour. This is his third stage, by the way. He won the 2 Alpine stages of the race, Tony Rominger, when we went over the tops from Village de Lans to Serre-Chevalier, and the stage into Isola 2000 also went to Rominger. So Rominger then had 2 on the trot, and now here on the flat he's got another victory. That's 3 stages to Tony Rominger. That is more than anybody else has got this year in the Tour, and our congratulations go to the Swiss rider for a fine performance. There we are then, 57:02 is time, and that was a great ride. Well, they'll all be very happy to rest in their hotels tonight, ready for the final stage of the Tour de France. The ceremonial ride, which for tomorrow after the start, when we roll out from the start of the stage tomorrow to cover the 196 kilometres from Viry right the way through. We have what they call a fictive departure. Then we go to Montgeron, where we're going to actually start outside the cafe for the real start proper, and that's going to be just after 12 o'clock tomorrow, around about 20 past 12. Oh, look at that, there's somebody's cut in the... Well, I've heard of in the crops in Wiltshire, they have what they call corn circles, and somehow or other there's been people making circles, or something's happened, or they say things from outer space come down, and here they've gone to trouble in the corn to make a shape of a bicycle and a rider. And perhaps they could give it a yellow jersey one day by putting some yellow flowers in there. That's in confirmation of the general classification. Rominger's moved up then into second place. Jaskula still in third. He was there this morning, so Jaskula in third, but poor Makia having lost out on the ride today. So that's an intriguing thing, isn't it? To actually cut that in the cornfield. In fact, there's another one on the far side too, and I can see some more there. So they've been very, very active just for the Tour de France. This in its 90th year, and tomorrow to celebrate that race of 1903, we shall have a little bit of a false start at Montgeron before the ride into Paris. There are the 8 laps on the Champs-Élysées. There are 1 or 2 little conks tomorrow, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fourth category climbs, but I'm not quite sure that we're going to see the race break up tomorrow. The top men will put the lid on it, and there'll be quite a sort of end of school atmosphere about the place as they head in towards Paris. And then as soon as they see the Tour Eiffel in the distance, then the racing really starts. Everybody wants to win the final stage, and I wonder what the sprinters are going to think tomorrow who it could be. The people that have won in Paris in the past, people like Konishev, Muzeo, Ludwig, Van Poppel, Jeff Pierce, the American sprinter, actually got a stage there as well. It's a sprinter's paradise, but today the time trial was for Rominger. Rominger, the Swiss rider who has been great in the Grand Prix de National in the past, and that showed today that time trialing is his skill. But coming on then to the victory rostrum, Tony Rominger won the stage today, the time trial stage, his 3rd victory in the Tour this year. The other 2 were up in the mountains, a tough way to get them up in the Alps, but he showed us he can climb there by winning those 2 stages. Indurain was very upset because he tried to win one of the stages, did Indurain, the one at Isola 2000 the day before his birthday. This man wouldn't let him. He took 2 on the trot, and now he's got the time trial stage, a stage which we would have thought Indurain might well have triumphed in. But he can sleep well tonight, and tomorrow his team will just get round about him and ride him on into that 2nd place. He'll be up on the rostrum in the Champs-Élysées when all the VIPs will be there, and the thousands of people cheering the man in the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain. Well, beautiful part of the world here, just south of Paris, and the ride tomorrow in a sort of a great big semicircle to get in. We're not all that far away from the town centre here, but we take a little bit of a trundle round through the countryside just to complete the total distance of 196.5 kilometres. That's all that lays between these riders and the finish. There's just those 4 fourth category climbs tomorrow for Rominger, but he won't lose that spotted jersey, by the way, because he's got so many points. He's absolutely unbeatable in the King of the Mountains because of his fine performances in the Alps and in the Pyrenees. Up this morning had 439 points in the King of the Mountains classification. Claudio Chiappucci was second with 295 and Rincon third in 286 points, and that's the way it'll stay, I'm sure, for tomorrow. Well, we'll be going off air shortly, and I hope as we're looking down that beautiful castle that we might have a chance just to seeing the yellow jersey and perhaps the green jersey come up as well, because Abdul Jafarov today survived the time trial. We're just looking back down here. Look at that phalanx of motorcyclists behind, all the cameras going full chat to record something quite unique. Indurain losing out in the Tour de France. For Mejia, the round man on the right-hand side of the picture there, the Colombian rider, just can't quite time trial at this sort of speed. So there, Jean-Marie Leblanc in the background in that car, the sort of greenish coloured shirt you saw there. Watching the man in the yellow, Jean-Marie Leblanc, one of the organisers of the Tour, an ex-racing man himself, rode the Tour de France, ex-journalist, has seen a wonderful Tour this year. We've been inside France, except that short trip into Andorra and into Spain. But there, Miguel Indurain in the yellow jersey, ceremonial parade into Paris tomorrow for him. Disappointment that he lost the time trial today, but he should get there tomorrow in yellow. Do join us on Eurosport tomorrow for that, because we really want to see the presentations at the end of it all, because I'm sure the yellow jersey will be there tomorrow. Join us then for more coverage on Eurosport.